Most people have only experienced love as hunger, as a gap that needs filling. And the thing about hunger is that it can never actually be satisfied because it's not about the other person. It was never about the other person. Trying to date after you transcend your ego is almost impossible. That was my very first video and it did very well. It was just a straight riff from the heart, right? I said, because you're basically walking around already in love. And when you're already in love with life, with yourself, with the present moment, you stop reaching. And when you stop reaching, the whole dynamic changes. I remember the first time I was in a relationship and I genuinely didn't need anything from her. That was my first relationship. Not validation, not reassurance, not proof that I was worthy of being loved. And I remember thinking that this is it. I found it. Now, a relationship like that only came about to me because of years and years of, you could say self-development and spirituality that I did on myself. We're no longer together today, but it was an incredible relationship while we were in it. And I feel like everybody has to be able to experience this kind of love. Now, the funny thing is that you can practice this love without even being in a relationship, because the only reason I was able to call that relationship into my life was because I was already in that state of love. That's what I'm trying to say. I say that because nobody prepares you for that. The way you're taught about love is completely wrong in a lot of ways. When you've done real inner work, when you've actually gone inward, when you've confronted your wounds, when you've stopped outsourcing your sense of self to other people's approval and other people's love, you reach a point where you wake up one day and you're already in love. Not with a person, but with life, with the present moment, with yourself. And then someone comes along and it could be the wrong person, and then it doesn't work out because all of the mechanics of modern dating assume that you're operating from hunger. But likewise, someone could come along and you just know. It's a connection beyond like chemistry or beyond just physical attraction. It's like a I know you and you know me kind of feeling. Anyways, what does modern dating incentivize, right? The chase, the push, the pull, the game, the don't text back too fast. All of it is built on the assumption that you need something from the other person, or that you can't appear to a certain way to another person. You can't appear too chalant, right? Power dynamics. It's all about keeping up the power dynamics, right? It's like playing politics, but instead of left versus right, it's man versus woman. It's hilarious. But when you stop needing anything genuinely, not as a performance, not as a need, a subconscious power dynamic power move, the whole system breaks down. Right? So what actually happens, and what does love feel like when you're already whole? That's what this episode is about. There are two operating systems through which human beings relate to everything in life, but especially to love and to other people. Now, broadly, it's a broad categorization, right? I call them lust and love. I don't merely mean those words in a sexual sense. I mean them as an energetic state of being. Because lust is the energy of lack. You could lust after women, you could lust after men, you could lust after food, you could lust after money, you could lust after power, right? So lust is the energy of lack. Lust is the energy of grasping. It's the energy of, I need this person to do something for me. Make me feel wanted. Make me feel real. Make me feel like I'm enough. Validate the version of myself that I'm trying to convince myself is true, right? Lust reaches, lust grasps, it performs, and then it collapses when the other person leaves because the other person was, the source. Lust doesn't care who the person actually is. It cares about what the person represents and what the person does for you. Right? Lust cares about the feeling that they give you, the hole that they fill in you, literally and metaphorically. Right? Now, here's what's important. Lust is not just sexual. Right? You can lust after validation. I said this earlier. You can lust after status. You can lust after the feeling of being chosen, power, money, fame, success, wealth, money, yada, yada, yada. Right? Now, most people walk through life operating from lust. And the most commonly mistaken place of lust and love is in relationships. Now, love is completely different. Love is the energy of overflow. It's the energy of I am. I am already full. And I choose to give from that fullness. Love doesn't need the other person to be anything in particular. It just is. It doesn't collapse when they leave. It doesn't perform to keep them. It doesn't chase. It just loves. You can be however you want. And I'm still here. I'm still present. And I will love whatever that is. And so the whole paradox that nobody tells you, right? If you want spiritual power, which you cannot have spiritual power if you're seeking it, you have to give up all need of spiritual power in order to finally have the spiritual power you're looking for. This is the most ironic thing. The paradox that nobody tells you is that the man who operates from love, the person who operates from love is exponentially more magnetic than the person who operates from lust. Not because he's trying to attract, but because he genuinely isn't trying to take anything. There's nothing more disarming than a person who doesn't need anything from you. Because think of how often it's the case. As soon as you get the feeling that somebody wants something from you, you contract, you repel, right? Because something about that just makes you trust them less, because they're doing it not because they care about you, but because they want something for themselves, right? So that's why it's so disarming when a person flips that script. Now, most of us, including myself for years, have been operating from lust our whole lives without knowing it. For me, in teenagehood and into early adulthood, I struggled with a pornography addiction. That was the way that I learned about sex, about women. It's like lust. this like gravitational pull of that desire, of just like that hunger, right? And needing to satiate it. But like I said earlier, it's an unfillable pit. And the further and further down you chase it, you end up as a billionaire on an island. And that is pretty much analogous to hell. So the mistake that most people think about love, especially in a relationship, is that, let's say you fall for someone, right? But what you're actually falling for is the feeling that they give you, right? That hit, right? The way they look at you and the way that you feel for a moment, like everything is real, everything is alive, everything is enough. You feel chosen, right? And you start needing that hit. You start to organize your life around making sure you keep getting that hit and that they keep giving it to you. You perform the version of yourself that got the hit in the first place. You keep coming back to that performance in the attempt to get that feeling again over and over, right? So then you suppress the parts of yourself that might jeopardize it. And you may make yourself smaller in 100 different subtle ways in order to try to keep that peace, in order to keep the source of the love secure, right? But it's ironic because most of the time when you try to do that, that is exactly what pushes it away. Nobody will, if neither person is conscious enough, they won't be able to name it, but you'll feel that subconscious repelling, right, of the performance because there's something fake going on, right? And so this is not love. It's addiction dressed up as love. It's lust. It's the need for validation. It's the need to feel secure because either party does not feel secure already in themselves. If we just point it towards like the classic like neediness, right? Neediness. The tell is simple, right? It's like when they're gone, you collapse. When they pull away, you chase. And when they seem disinterested, your whole entire world collapses, destabilizes, right? Because you've developed a dependent relationship to that feeling, right? You've externalized that feeling, not realizing that feeling is in yourself. And the only way to true love is to radiate it from within. And when both people meet each other and radiate it from within, that is love. So what happens when you are addicted to this need, right? It's less so that they're not even a person to you. It's that they're a solution to your problem. They're a solution to your feeling of lack, right? And the truth is that no human being can consistently be a solution to another human being's inner void, because they will eventually, inevitably, always fail. Right? It's impossible for one person to live up to constantly be the source of another person's joy. Like, think of how repelling and disgusting that is, right? Because the job was never theirs to do. The void was yours, and the work was yours, right? And if it's not you, maybe it's the other person in the relationship, you have to see it. You have to be able to see what they're struggling with, right? It's like, can you love that? Right? Because the pattern is the same, right? We all have the same pattern. It's just a matter of whether or not we have the recognition of it, right? Without the recognition of it, a lot of times it can take control over our lives. And so I want to talk about the shift now, right? What actually happens when you do the work? I'll tell you what happened to me. I spent years and years drowning in lust, struggling with women and just like feeling hopeless, honestly, right? But something shifted in me. I started to believe in wholeness. I started to believe I already had the relationship I wanted. I started to believe that I already had the love that I wanted to feel. I started to believe that I had it. So I deliberately started to shift my mind from this constant state of seeking to the constant state of being. All right, that's what I'm trying to say. The work that I was doing on myself, eventually it started to crack me open. It made me admit that, like, damn, I do feel lonely. Damn, I am looking. All I want is connection. All I want is love. All I want is intimacy. All I want is another person to understand me, right? At a level so deep that it's, incomprehensible. It's not articulable, articulatable. So at some point through the work the accumulation of all the work I'd been doing, I found that I started to crack open, right? From this transition into that seeking energy, into the being energy. I started to find something inside of myself that I had been looking for outside the whole time. This is what they don't tell you, right? Whether you're trying to build a business, whether you want a relationship, or you want your finances to be better, like whatever your goal is, you want your fitness to be better, get into better shape, look amazing in the mirror, whatever, right? The pattern is the same. You have to shift from lust to love. So I'll put it another way. You have to shift your identity. You have to shift your identity from the person who's chasing the money, who's chasing the woman, who's chasing the body, the physique, the fitness, to the person who's being it, who's being the person in the relationship, who's being the person with the physique and the fitness, who's being the person who's running a successful business, who's being the person who makes the amount of money that they want, who's being the person who lives the exact kind of life they want to live. You see, it's a matter of alignment to your true self. And so as I became more capable of love, as I tapped into my heart, right? You connect your sexual energy with your heart. And this is a whole nother video, okay? Comment sexual energy if you want me to talk about that, okay? But you connect your sexual energy instead of needing to always like drain it all the time through spilling it, and you start to retain, that energy, you start to connect it to your heart, to your desires, to your yearning, to your emotions, and then you realize that is the most powerful thing in the world. Mind, heart, sex. It connects you to spirit. Suddenly you feel like I am the creator of my reality, because all of this energy that I was spilling out, seeking through lust, giving it away, trying to obtain it, that feeling of love, of lust, of validation, of success, of freedom. I realized I am the source of all of that energy, and it flows. It starts to overflow through me. And from that overflow, now I live in the present. I am being the person I want to be. I'm creating the exact life I want to live. Each and every single day, I live in alignment to me, because that is who I am. Right? Do you see that difference now? No longer are we separate from the things we desire. We are one with it. And that is, the law of attraction is just the law of alignment. When you're aligned to the things, they say you don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. When you're aligned in frequency and vibration and behavior and action to the very things and the very life you are meant to live, then it's inevitable. These things are being pulled to you right this instant, because you're drawing them, you're magnetizing them, you're attracting them. Right? Why is it that chasing is such a weak state of being? Because it's grasping. Why is it that being, non-chasing, is the most magnetic place you can be? Because it flips the polarity. It flips the energy polarity. It flips the power dynamic, right? Except you're not playing from a power dynamic. You're playing from pure awareness. You're playing from pure being. You're playing from pure draw. You're playing from pure pull. You're playing from pure presence. So the more I tapped into love within myself by connecting my sexual energy with my mind, with my body, with my soul, and enacting it out into the outer world, overflowing from that energy, I stopped needing to need love to complete me, because I realized the fundamental truth that I am love. It always cracks me up when I try to talk about this through words, because it's more so an internal knowing, and as soon as you put it into words, it kind of sounds silly, right? The point is that you get to the state where you are in that knowing fully embodied. Why do they call it embodied? Because it's embodied. So the difference in how you move through the world after this shift is night and day, right? Instead of walking into the room and looking for the person who will make you feel something, you walk in already feeling something. You walk in already present, already full, already the energy, right? Instead of performing a version of you that you think someone will love, you're just yourself. You're just yourself. Isn't that the most freeing thing a human being can ever give themselves? Because there's no longer a performance at stake. There's no longer this feeling of, oh, if I take off this mask, if I stop the performance, then suddenly nobody will like me anymore because I've revealed my true self, and my true self comes with all of my ugliness and all of my flaws and all of my... The thing is, when you perform an identity, if somebody didn't love that version of you, yeah, it might kind of hurt, but it was fine. It's fine, because that is not your real self. And if it's not your real self, it doesn't really hurt the way that if it was your real self and somebody rejected you, the way that would hurt, right? So that is one of the core fears of like taking off the mask, of becoming more, living more true to you, being more true to you, right? Operating from the state of authenticity. That is one of the core fears that stop people from doing that, right? But the whole thing, the funny thing is that once you actually start doing that, and there's no longer a performance at stake, if somebody doesn't love the true version of you, then actually, yeah, it does sting, but it's fine, because now you're operating from the state of, you're not even sourcing your identity, your sense of identity. You're not sourcing it from them anyway. That is freedom, right? When you don't depend on another person, when you don't depend on a shiny job title, a shiny car, whatever, in order to give your sense of identity yourself, that's when you can have these very things, right? That is when you can operate from true power. The strange thing that happens when you enter this state is that connection starts to feel completely different, because you're not trying to get anything. You become genuinely curious about the other person. You're operating from this place of, I am curious about you rather than what you can give to me. And it's not strategic, it's spontaneous. It's not calculating. It's just warm without needing anything in return. Right? Curiosity, right? Somebody feels seen from you, somebody feels heard from you, and you can change lives by that single quality alone, by making somebody else feel seen. Because no longer are you being, oh, I want to feel seen. It's now, I am curious about you, right? So you actually start to see people. You see them at a level that they probably haven't really ever been seen. Perhaps even by their own family, even by their own friends, right? You are seeing them not as potential sources for getting what you need, but as human beings who are doing exactly what you used to do, walking through life looking for something to fill the gap. And you see that with utter compassion and love and understanding, and they just feel seen by you because you get them, because you were there too. And that recognition, that genuine seeing, is one of the most powerful things that a human being can do for another. So what does love from overflow actually feel like? Let me try to describe it, even though I'm sure I've been describing it this whole time. It feels like a choice rather than need. It feels like giving rather than clinging. It feels like I am open to receiving you here fully as you are without you needing to change anything, rather than I need you here. And that distinction is everything. It's the entire separator, right? Choice is free. Need is not. Need is stuck. Need is a trap. Need is a pit. Love from overflow is presence. Presence rather than performance. You're not running calculations inside of your mind, in the background of your mind constantly, of how you're coming across, how you'll be perceived, how they'll respond to you if you say this, and how you should respond back if they say that. There's no strategizing. There's none of that contractive defense mode inside. It's just fully meeting the moment. You're fully just there, here, in this conversation, in this moment, in this room. It feels like you can, when you apply it to a relationship, right? As a man to a woman, it feels like you can hold space for her emotions without being destabilized by them. You know, a lot of what keeps men stuck in immaturity is this like avoidance of the female emotions, right? As guys, it's just like, it's a common joke of like going fishing, going off to golf. Why? Because you just want silence, right? And it's like, yeah, totally, right? But it's like, women will be women. You know what I mean? And there's something, at one level, there's something extremely annoying, but at another level, she's reflecting something back to you about yourself, right? At another level, there's something extremely beautiful about that, because if women were not women and men were not men, then we would not have this polarity. We would not have this dance of sexual attraction, because that is the entire thing that drives it, right? Is the polarity, is our differences, is the yin and the yang, the plus and the minus, right? When you become the kind of man where she can bring her full feminine radiance of her full chaos and her full everything about her radiance, right? When she's fully in her, she will give you everything. When she can bring you her full chaos and you don't collapse and you don't run and you stay, because you're not threatened by the feminine. You're not threatened by her emotional storm, because you are so grounded, so present, so still. Because you're not threatened by the frame that she's trying to throw onto you, because you have your own, right? And your frame is solid, more solid than anything else. Then you stop trying to fix the dynamic all the time, and you just start to experience it. You just start to honor it. You just start to love it. The man operating from lust is always trying to engineer the outcome. He's trying to make her feel a certain way, make her not act a certain way, make her act a certain way, trying to make sure she stays, trying to manage her perception of him. But it's all a performance. The man operating from love is just present with what is. And paradoxically, that presence is what actually calms her down and creates the connection. It's like, how do you calm a baby down? Do you walk away and go play golf? No, you hold the baby. Right? You stay playful, you stay light. You don't get caught up in the emotional storm. And then suddenly, the baby starts smiling. Let me tell you a secret. It's the same thing. Now, when you're in that presence through which the connection can form and can intensify, when you're in that presence and that in mutual sharing, this is the one I struggle to put into words because, well, I guess I've been saying it the whole video, but it's really what I started off with. It's that the love is already there before the person even arrives. It's like you bring the love to the relationship rather than expecting the relationship to produce it. Do you see? When you operate from this state of being, it is only when you meet another person who is also operating from this state of being, where both people are already full. They're not seeking anything, but rather they're so full from their hearts, so open, right? So broken open, so just fully in love with themselves, with their life, right? Not from a place of ego and security, but from a genuine place of security. When two people meet like that, holy shit, man, like that is the kind of love that you want to look for. So that's it. Love is the ground state, not the destination. Love is the natural state of being. It's not the destination. Love is the journey, not the destination. Right? Operating from the state doesn't mean you don't feel pain. You don't feel anger. You don't get pissed off. You don't feel sad. You don't feel loss, or you don't feel longing, or that you don't feel lust. You feel all of these things, right? It doesn't make you immune to heartbreak. And it doesn't make you detached. It doesn't make you numb. Quite the opposite, because you feel everything. And your capacity to hold and to love is your capacity to feel everything, because you stop closing off your heart to what makes you feel uncomfortable. You keep your heart open even amidst heartbreak, even amidst when she says something or he says something that deeply hurts you. Something inside of you still finds the courage to keep your heart open, because you recognize that your love, your freedom is not dependent on that other person staying in relationship with you, that other person opinion of you, right? Through their words or their actions, that you have it within yourself. And that is an internal frame that is not broken by the outside world, right? So again, it doesn't make you detached, doesn't make you numb. It makes you more feeling, more than anything. What it changes in you is your relationship to those things. I'm referring to, anger, lust, hunger, sadness, loneliness, longing, the so-called negative poles of the human experience. It changes your relationship to those things, right? Because when somebody leaves, someone you genuinely loved, the ground doesn't disappear from under your feet. It doesn't feel like the rug was pulled from under you. It doesn't feel like you're in a free fall limbo. It doesn't feel like, so for example, some people lose their jobs and they commit suicide. Some people lose a relationship and they want to commit suicide. And it's like, you have to understand where that comes from, right? That feeling of your entire reality, the rug being pulled from under your feet, and you feel like you're in complete limbo. That's when you're in limbo. You don't understand, like, what is my life without her? What is my life without this job that I worked so hard over the years for, right? It's like you deeply have to understand what drives those human behaviors. But when you are living from love as the ground state of yourself, you can grieve without collapsing. You miss them without chasing them. You honor what was. You honor what was real without making it mean something about your worth. The ground doesn't disappear from your feet because the ground was never them. You were the ground. And if you are solid in your ground, no rug can be pulled from you. This isn't cold. This isn't needy either. It's simply the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for the other person. Because the man who is complete in himself does not burden his partner with the job of completing him. Whether he is in a relationship or heartbroken or single, doesn't matter. The point is that she gets to be a person, not a solution. And in terms of attraction, the man who genuinely doesn't need her is the most magnetically present thing she has ever encountered and experienced. Because everything in the dating world is transactional. Are you 6 feet tall? What job do you work? How much money do you make? Let's see, what else? Are you attractive? How in shape are you? Blah, 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 blah. And then for a man, I'm not even going to go into it. It's tiring, right? But you realize you don't have to play that game. You really don't. Dating is like politics. It's a power game that never full of power dynamics and white lies and concealed truths and masks, but you never get to the source. You never get to the real thing. You never get to the root, right? And that's where love lies, right? And that's what's so tiring about the whole modern dating thing, because it's so unnatural. It's so forced. It's a performance, right? Everything is transactional. Everybody wants something. And then when this person arrives who simply doesn't want anything, who is just themselves, is already full, you'll repel anyone who's not aligned to that, which is good because it's your natural filter mechanism, right? When you're operating from the state of already full, when you actually see the other person without needing anything from them, from her, that is the experience of the superior masculine. Not dominance through effort, through anger, through force, through performance, but dominance through presence. Dominance through a lack of the need to control. Dominance through the non-need of dominance. This is the whole paradox. So I'll close off with this, okay? If everything I've described today sounds foreign to you, which I don't believe that it can, because something inside of every single human being resonates with truth when it hears it. You probably know it deep inside of you. Perhaps you just feel disconnected from being able to embody it as your being, right? If the idea of being full before you receive love feels like something you can't access quite yet, that's not a failing. That's a starting point, because awareness is the starting point. Most of us were never taught that love was something we could bring. We were taught that love was something we had to earn. Oh, that one destroys people. Love was something we had to attract. had to perform well enough to deserve. Think back to childhood, right? For an Asian kid like me, it might have been grades. It might have been getting into a good school. It might have been then getting a good job, right? How well you performed was how much love you received. Now we have to break that pattern, right? Unlearning that from your body is the work. And it is the most important work there is, because it is the work that will set you free, baby. It is the most important work there is, because every domain of your life, your relationships, your creative expression, your work, your finances, your body operates differently when it comes from overflow rather than scarcity. You design your physical environment in an entirely different way when you're operating from overflow. You create creatively in an entirely different way when you're operating from overflow. You see money entirely differently when you're operating from overflow. The way you manage it, the way you treat it, the way your relationship to it, right? And then obviously we've been focusing on intimate relationships, right? But that changes entirely. You know, you experience a love, a mutual kind of connection and love that is so deep that it just makes anything before that seem like like a complete joke. Like, what was I doing playing around like a clown, performing for love? Right. Your body, your fitness, getting into the best shape of your life becomes a part of your identity rather than I hate myself, I need to perform, I need to be better, I need to, oh, blah, blah. It's so tiring. Imagine if all of that could change. And that all that change comes from is you learning inside of your nervous system, inside of your body, inside of your heart, this new state of being. So the man who loves from overflow, the man who loves from fullness, builds differently, creates differently, leads differently, attracts differently. And you'll notice that the more you step into this energy, the more people will be drawn to you. They'll be curious about you. They'll just like find something that they resonate with in you, and they'll seek you out. Not because you're trying to be better than them, because quite the contrary, because you see them, you understand them, and you carry yourself with a certain kind of energy that is just pure. It's non-performative. It's real. It's grounded. It's present. It's there. And you embody that energy, not because you have more, or that you've proven more, or that you walk around like a fancy banker, but because you need less, because you treat people better, because you treat yourself better. This is reality architecture. And the funny thing is that this is just the beginning of reality architecture. This is the beginning of reality architecture. Everything that I've described in these past 50 odd minutes. Thanks for joining me in this one. I hope you found tremendous value in this episode. This is Reality Architecture episode number 8. You can see that sometimes I lack consistency in the setting, like in the last episode, and that's just because like the creative process, it takes a hold of you, and you just do what you need to do in that moment. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this one. Have a wonderful morning, evening, night. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.